Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're gonna configure the flight plan manually in our Robin Cap10 aircraft. Currently we're located at Rotterdam Airport. In front of us is the city of Rotterdam. So if we would look here, then we see the aircraft which we're gonna use today. As you can see, it's a fancy one. It's kind of a stunt aircraft, I think. So let's go inside the aircraft and let's make sure that the engines are started. So I'll put on some lights. You can do that by hitting the Control, Alt and Lima key. Then you'll put on the light. So then it's easier to see everything in the cockpit. So let's make sure that we're starting the cockpit or the airplane first. So we're going to go to the checklist. So parking brake is set. Avionics switch is not set to on. And then we need to switch on the master switch, which you can find here, followed by the strobe lights. And in addition to that, right, you can, I would say, add some or enable some other flights or options, some other lights, some pumps, but that's all being done here on the engine part, and we're not ready to start the engine yet. Hopefully it should already be switching on the most important system for today, which is the Garmin GNS 430. For those who've watched my other videos, you might recognize this one because it's also part of several other aircrafts which are part of Flight Simulator 2020. The buttons we're going to focus on today is the FPL button, which stands for the flight plan, as you can see, the PROC button, which stands for the procedures button, and then you've got the FMS key, which is the most important one. This one has multiple options, as you can see. You can scroll to it to move to different views. So for example, I can go to this view, which shows me the airport we're departing from and the destination and the distance. And if we would move one further, you would see it in a different view. And then we would move it even one further, then you're able to see the map, and that sometimes is handy, right? So you can see on this part of the screen in which I would say section of the system you are. So in this case this one is empty, all nice, and here you can see the waypoint, distance, and also glide scope information. So currently we're located at Rotterdam Airport, so which is Echo Hotel Romeo Delta. Here you've got the RTM, which is the Rotterdam waypoint, which is used for many approaches. For now, we're gonna configure a flight from Rotterdam Airport to Ameland Airport, which is an island in the northern part of the Netherlands. And you can do that via two ways. You can either press the set direct route to, and then you need to activate the option here by pushing this FMS key. This FMS key has multiple options. One is to push, which will activate the cursor. The other one is to move through the alphabet. Not only the alphabet, because there's also some numbers in between. And then you've got the large button, which will allow you to move the cursor to the right. So Ameland is Echo Hotel Alpha Lima, and you can see it already recognizes it here. Once you're happy, press the enter key, and then it will ask you, hey, do you want to activate this waypoint? And then you can say yes, I want to. Then it will automatically update the map here. It will automatically set the waypoint, the distance, and light scope if needed. So if we would now move to the different screens, you can see the information here. This is our current position. And here you can see, okay, hey, we're moving from the user waypoint, which that's because we're standing on one of the parking spots. And then we're flying directly to Ameland Airport, which makes sense. The other option to view the map a little bit easier, right, because this one might be a little bit too small for you, is by pressing the letter V from Victor on your keyboard. and then it will show you the flight map. So we're doing a, I would say, straight flight to Ameland Airport. That's of course one option, because there are multiple options. So let's close the VFR map again, and then go to the flight plan. Before we're, I would say, reconfiguring our airplane or flight plan, we are going to clean up the previous one, and that can be done by pressing the button here. Then, sorry, let me do it again. So going to the flight plan, pressing the button here, and then move to the bottom one, and then press the clear button here, which will remove it, and do the same thing here. So now we start from scratch. So we're gonna add Rotterdam Airport as the first waypoint. So that's Echo Hotel. Hotel Romeo Delta. Rotterdam. So we're happy with it. So it has added the next one. Then you need to use the large knob to move one position further, right? Because what else happens is that you're gonna, I would say, override this one, and that's not what we want. Right? So we're gonna override it. But I'm not sure if I did it correctly, so let's double check it again. So use the large knob, and then we're gonna provide ANDIC, so Alpha November. Oh, not too fast. Delta India, and then as last one Kilo. I'm gonna press enter, and that will ask you, okay, hey, which one do I want to pick? Based on this, you can see the letters Echo Hotel, which is the country, which is the code bill which belongs to the country, the Netherlands. So we're gonna press enter, and then it has added the next one. So we're gonna move a few positions to the bottom one, and then we're gonna turn the wheel again, and the next one is Unexo, so that's uniform November. Echo, a little bit too far. X-ray. Oscar, which is fine. Gonna move one position, and then we're gonna add the last waypoint, which is Echo Hotel Alpha Lima, which is Ameland Airport. A little bit too far. We're happy with it. And then we've configured the complete flight plan, right? So in the first column you can see the waypoints. Then you've got the cumulative distance, which is the total distance. So it will say, okay, hey, from Rotterdam to Hendrik, it's 56 miles, then 61, and then at the end 101. And here you can see the distance between the waypoints. And if we would now use this button again, first need to go back to the main screen, then we would be able to see, okay, hey, Rotterdam to Hendrik, that's the first one. That will show you the same distance, the bearing, right, which is the say the grades on your compass which you need to fly to. And we can still use the map, and if we would press the letter V now, you can see that it's a little bit different. So it's not a real straight flight, so it goes via the northern part of the Netherlands, and then we'll fly over the water, and then eventually it will fly to Ameland Airport. Now there are a few things which you might want to use. It really depends on how you want to approach your flight, and that's the first one is, or the second option would be the procedures one. Must warn you, the procedures one is not available on all airports. So for example, Ameland probably doesn't have it, but Rotterdam I would expect to have the let's say official procedures. And the official procedures are the SIDs, right? The instrumental departure routes, and the STAR routes, the terminal arrival routes. So let's go to departure, and then press the button. And then it will say, okay, hey, which departure do you want to use? What you see is that the departure always contains a part of the waypoint. So in this case, based on this, I can tell you that already Andik is the end waypoint from this SID. And you can see that there are multiple ones. So Andy 1A, 1B, and then we've got another waypoint. And then we would scroll down the list, which we can do using the buttons here, and then use the large part. You can see that there are several ones, but since we already have Andik in our say in our flight plan, that makes most sense to add Andik. So we're gonna go to the top again, set to the top, and then we're gonna select 1A, which is fine. Transition is not applicable, and then you can select the runway. Well, let's assume that we're assigned runway 6. If that's not the case, you can press the enter key and you can change the runway. But as you can see, using this SID, this belongs to runway 6. If you would select the other one, so let me select this one, then you will see it selects another runway. So each runway has its own departure route, or might have. It's not always the case. In case of the transition, that's more used for the STAR routes, so for the terminal approach routes. So we're now happy with it. Then once that's done, you can go to the option load and you can say enter. It will bring you back to the procedures button and will say, okay, hey, do you want to activate the approach, or do you want to select the departure route? No, we don't want to do that, because we first want to look at the flight plan. And you can see some things have changed. So let me activate it here. You can see that instead of Rotterdam being the, or EHRD being the first one, and then Andik, you can see that multiple additional waypoints have been added here. And that's due to the fact that these waypoints are part of that SID route. So if we would open the route now, you can see that it has changed significantly. Initially it was a straight line from Rotterdam to Andik, but you can see now the SID route says, okay, hey, you need to first go to Echo Hotel 153, 151, and then we're continuing to the next waypoint. I don't see the name yet. Echo Hotel 150, and then if we would scroll further, it will go to Echo Hotel 043, and then to Ankles, and eventually it will visit Andik. And then further on it will go to the en route, which are the remaining waypoints. So that's all fine. As mentioned, in some cases you've got the approach route. So let's see if we can find the approach. So we're gonna say select approach, press enter, and there you see that it doesn't have an approach. You can sometimes press enter, but it will not help because it simply doesn't have an approach in those cases. If it has an approach, you will see it here. It will show you an approach, it will show you an option to set a transition and also to select the runway. So let's change something in our flight plan which will allow us to use these options. So we're gonna do something, we're gonna say enter, we're gonna change Echo Hotel Alpha Lima, we're gonna change it to a different airport. So we're gonna move. What? Echo is still okay. Come on, sometimes you need to be a little bit careful when switching the buttons. Then we say Echo Hotel Alpha. No, we're not gonna use alpha in this case. We're gonna use... Let's see if we would use, well, Lelystad. Yeah, yes, let's use Lelystad, which is a little bit bigger airport. So we're gonna accept it. So we now replaced it. You can see that Unexo is now the latest one. So we're gonna clear this one from the... we shouldn't have done that. So we simply messed up the flight plan. So here it is. So we're gonna clear Unexo from the list. Then press enter again, or push the button here. Now it should have updated our flight plan. You can see that we're now going to almost to Andiek, and then it will fly back to Lelystad. So let's see if Lelystad has an approach. So we're gonna move the buttons here. You can see in this case Lelystad has an approach, right? It says, okay, hey, which approach do you want to use? Do you want to use ILS, the localizer, or the AirNavs 5 or 23? Keep in mind that ILS might not be available on each runway. So in case of Lelystad, it only has ILS 5, which is fine. And then you've got the transition. And the transition is in most cases assigned to you by the ATC. So we're going to press the button. And there you see that we've got multiple transitions. Depending on where you're coming from, you might select, for example, BDEX or ACNON. So let's select BDEX, and then we're gonna load the data. Don't activate it yet, because you activate it, then it will directly activate that part of the flight plan. So if we're going to the flight plan, you will see that it has added a new section now, which is called Approach ILS 6. And then it will have BDEX and then some other waypoints in here. It's always a good idea to go back and view it on your map, although it sometimes is hard, right, because you can't see it. But if you don't, or if you can't see it, then you can always use these buttons, right? So you can zoom out or zoom in this case. So let me zoom out, and then you will be able to figure out the flight plan a little bit better. If you want to make it easy for yourself, then open the VFR map and then have a look. So what it currently does, it goes to PAM, and then it will take this approach. And here you can see BADX, right? So where the SID, the name of the SID route, the last was, I would say, containing the last waypoint. In case of a star route, it's the first waypoint of the route. So it's gonna follow this route. In this case, might not be what you would expect. So let's see if we can change it and then make a change. And gonna say instead of BADX, we will take ACNON. And then again, we're gonna load it. We're not gonna activate it. If we would go to the flight plan again, you would you would see that it would have changed. So you can see departure is still there. Then it says en route to Lelystad, and then it has added the waypoints which are belonging to the star route. So one thing you need to be careful with is don't remove the last waypoint, in this case Lelystad, because it will remove all the bottom ones also. And since Lelystad eventually is the last or latest waypoint on which we're gonna visit, then keep that in mind, or keep it in place, I should say. So we're gonna zoom out again, but it's almost impossible to see it, right? In some other airplanes, you've got an additional button which allows you to move, I would say, from left to right, etc. In this case, there's no option in this aircraft, so we're gonna use the VFR map. So what you see that now it goes via ACNON. So instead of going via the, I would say, southern part of the country, or southeast part of the country, it now follows the original route, then will make a turn to ACNON, and then goes into the star route. And once you're at the star route, it will go to the other waypoints and then eventually it will land you at Lelystad Airport, runway 5. So you can see that there are a lot of options in this aircraft, although this system looks very small. I also discovered some new things lately, so that's why I recorded this new how-to. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you've got questions or comments, then feel free to post them below the video. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then consider to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.